Hey everybody, this is Brad Bruce and I'm here with
Jason Marsiglia.
and you are listening to the 5195 podcast.
14. Isn't that funny?
It is.
It's pretty cool.
I think so.
This is getting easier. It's rolling. I like that.
Yeah.
I feel like we're way beyond the awkward phase, and this just feels, all right, let's do another one.
Finding a groove.
Very, very much. I like it.
It's pretty nice.
Yeah.
So what have you been up to?
Just working and writing, my dude. Same old, same old.
Yeah, same. I would love to be able to get to a place to where I have free time to actually watch movies again. We talk about movies a lot, and every 80s movie or 90s movie, they're under the belt.
Yeah.
But then when it comes to new stuff, it's just like...
Staying on top of the game.
Yeah, it's like, no, I haven't seen it. Do I own it? Yeah, it's still sealed.
Oh, man.
But
yeah, I've definitely got that problem, too.
yeah, and it's like, we both almost have like the equivalent to a home theater.
We do.
We should be enjoying.
And enough movies to fill a video store.
Twice over.
We've basically got our video stores, personal video stores. So never for want of something to watch, just the time to do it.
Mm-hmm. It seems like it's never there.
Sadly, with me as a 9-to-5 guy, when COVID hit, we got put on a staggered schedule of you'll be in the office this many days, working from home this many, like a 3 and 5 out of a 5-day week. And what I started doing was I've got a TV and Blu-ray player in my office at home. I would just pop in a movie and either listen to a commentary or if it was a particularly slow day, pop in something I haven't seen and just kind of work while giving it attention. I know that's not the ideal way to do it, but that's kind of my way to get it in. And if it's something that is intriguing enough that it's pulling my attention away from my work, I'll take it out and I'll put it aside. And hopefully if I can outlast the kids as far as staying awake, I'll pop it in when everyone goes to bed and give it my undivided attention.
Right.
Which is how I prefer to do it anyway. That said, because I do want to give movies my undivided attention, I do tend to pop in tried and true shit that I've seen before so that you kind of keep an ear open, but you don't have to watch it. But that's how I get my movies in.
Yeah.
And if I get burned out, I'll put on like the Forensic Files channel or something. Just, it's almost the equivalent of listening to a podcast like we're doing now.
Yeah.
Hopefully whoever's listening to this, preferably you're just working and we're helping you get through your day, because that mild distraction is nice. Helps the day roll.
Yeah.
It's not the ideal way that I would like to watch a movie, but it's kind of all I've got.
So having this many movies under our belt, being fans of film,
Mm-hmm.
you kind of get accustomed to certain things. Like me, like I love horror films like you.
Yeah.
And they can kind of tend to be redundant.
Sure.
So I have a question posed to you.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of your, like a cinema pet peeve?
So you're thinking like recurring themes or actions that...
Yes, that, and also we can go as far as to a theater pet peeve as well. It's just to add an extra layer to it.
Yeah.
So it's like the actual film itself, and then like I almost have more theater pet peeves than I do film pet peeves.
Are you talking about the movie theater?
The movie going
like,
experience.
okay, not like stage theater.
No.
Okay.
Like, yeah, sitting down in a theater with a group and watching a film.
Yeah.
That drive me fucking crazy to the point I have to say something or go ask the manager for my money back because I want to watch the movie and something's going on. Yeah.
Sure.
And maybe it's not even that bad to the regular person.
No, but if you practically live there like we used to,
it's pretty bad.
Because there was a time where when I was in high school, I worked at Sam's Club, just shucking carts in the parking lot.
Uh-huh.
And when you worked afternoons at Sam's Club, unlike a place like Myers, which is 24/7, Sam's Club would close at like 9:30, 10 o'clock.
Uh-huh.
If you worked that shift, you didn't go home until the lot was spick and span. What we wound up doing, the Sam's Club that I worked at was literally a mile down the road from the theater. So in high school, me and my coworkers, my buddies, which were other high school friends typically, we'd close up and then run to the theater, and it was almost a nightly thing. So I'm with you there, where if you live at the theater, and there was a long stretch where I did, I could see where certain practices would be like, seriously, you guys haven't fixed that yet?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd love to hear yours, and then I'll talk about...
Okay, so as far as film...
Sure, we'll start there.
Yeah, okay, so it's not specific to one film. It's just sort of like all blended in together, things that happen.
Which is what I think that's what we should stick to, is a common theme and not just one.
Yeah.
Because you can nitpick one movie.
Yeah.
But if a genre has these earmarks that they keep doing, despite the fact that they've become cliche, that's the kind of shit that gets on my nerves,
Right,
I'm sure.
Right. Okay, so it's only a couple.
Okay.
The first one it's more funny than anything. I understand the suspension of disbelief, but when there's a shootout, a firearm that's only supposed to carry 6 to 12 rounds is somehow firing 100, 200 rounds without reloading.
Yeah.
It's just hilarious, and it's taken away from what's really going on.
Sure.
Because it's like, come on. Come on.
Yeah. Which is funny because, you're right. Action movies in particular, Westerns even, when we're talking about guns, you're supposed to suspend disbelief, but to a degree.
Yeah.
At least don't make it so outrageous.
Yeah.
I can pull it back to horror for one. The one that stands out to me, always stood out to me, was I Still Know What You Did Last Summer. Okay. Not a great sequel. And I'm one of the few that really, I champion the first one.
I do too.
I think it's a fun movie.
It is a really fun movie.
But part 2 was so phoned in. And there's this scene at the end where Freddie Prinze Jr. has bought a revolver, and it looks like your standard 6-shooter. Jennifer Love Hewitt is in the Bahamas, and she's in danger. The fisherman's back. So he's way back in North Carolina, South Carolina, wherever their old town was, and he buys a revolver. Okay. So what? Standard 6 bullets, give or take?
Yeah.
He buys it, flies he doesn't even fly. He takes a boat all the way to the Bahamas, which apparently only takes a couple of hours, because
Speedboat.
Yeah, speedboat all the way around the US of A. He gets to the island, somehow finds her, and squares off with the fisherman, picks up the gun, cocks it back, click, nothing. And then he gets his ass handed to him and the gun gets thrown.
Okay.
So if we're talking about a 6-shooter, he's already missing 1 bullet. Okay? So now we've realistically got 5. At some point during the melee, Hewitt picks up the gun, and I shit you not, she must put 8 or 9 bullets into this fucking guy. Okay. To put, and it's like, and she's like, just fucking die. And it's just bang, 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 bang. And I'm counting at this point. And I'm like, there's no fucking way. And the thing is, if the movie was more fun, I'll give it a pass. It's stupid, but I'll give it a pass. But by that point, the movie's almost over and I haven't had much fun. So I'm like, fuck you and your bullets. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I agree with you, though, where it's just ridiculous. And it's like, there's no fucking way.
It's like, how dumb do you think we are?
Right. And that's why I kind of appreciate movies like John Wick, where every 30 seconds you see him whipping a new magazine into it. Because there's millions of bullets flying in those movies, but you keep seeing him reload. Unless you do it smoothly, it could be a dip in the action to see something realistic, like reloading a gun. He makes it look so smooth and effortless, like he is a hitman, that I notice it, I appreciate it, and I move on. Thank you for giving me that.
Yeah. Yes. So the other one for me, it's funny because you see it quite a bit. That's whether it be the end of a movie or, into the second act, going into the third act or whatever, there's either a bomb or there's some sort of explosion where the star or whatever it may be is like the hero's walking away and there's an explosion behind him. And he's just walking slowly towards the camera
like a badass
with all this carnage and debris and shrapnel flying at thousands of feet per second and like 2,000-degree flames right behind him, but he's
walking to his car like you would after the flick. Just whatever.
Yeah, and they do it a lot.
You know what's funny? I don't know if I ever thought that was badass.
Yeah.
But I never had time because they did it so much that it became a cliche. Which is funny because it's the antithesis to this. The scene in The First Naked Gun where after this car chase, a guy's, without boring you with the details, he's riding a fucking missile and gets fired through a gas truck that goes into a fireworks store. And like you said, Frank Drebin, Leslie Nielsen's in the foreground. And there's just carnage behind him. There's people on fire. And he's going, nothing to see here. Please turn around. Nothing to see here. You know, and it's just, that's in the absurdity world of the Naked Gun. I prefer that over the badass who doesn't even get a lick of flames on the top of his jacket.
I agree.
So, yeah. And his hair doesn't even wisp.
I totally agree.
So, yeah, I would definitely lump that in as a pet peeve. One of mine is needle drops. I've got a couple of examples that really drive me fucking crazy.
Okay.
Whether it's just cliche or tone deaf or whatever. One that we've talked about before, you and I, if a movie takes place in Vietnam, you're going to hear CCR or you're going to hear All Along the Watchtower by Jimi Hendrix. Guaranteed. And it's usually a shot of like choppers.
Flying in formation.
Over
a smoky forest.
Yes. And it's like, the second I see a movie takes place in Vietnam, I'm like, well, it's just a matter of time before.
You know it's coming.
Oh, along the watchtower. Yeah, that's dun 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 dun. Dun, dun, dun. I'm like, oh, I guess we're in Vietnam now. I guess it's the only two songs our soldiers ever listened to while they were there.
The only two they
just
had.
Those two. It was, it was an A side and a B side, and that's all they had.
That was it. That was the soundtrack to Vietnam.
That's it. And it drives me up the goddamn wall. All the great rock songs of that era, and you're like, these two? That's Vietnam, man. That's war in the Viet fucking Nam. So yeah, I hate it. I hate it. But another one that drives me insane, and I'm sure this happens in other movies. The one that stands out to me that I almost turned it off. I was so fucking mad at this needle drop. Bridget Jones's Diary with Renee Zellweger. And the thing is, it annoyed me because I feel like I'd seen it dozens of times prior, but for some reason, this instance stood out because I think it was the last straw.
Okay.
And I say this, being a feminist, I love empowered women and all this stuff, but when a woman tells off her sleazy, gropey, sexist boss, and all of a sudden you hear, R-E-S-P-C-T, I'm like, no. Why the fuck are you? It's obnoxious almost.
Yeah.
It takes a great song, but it's like you give the woman her mic drop moment, and that's the only song. Why do you got to use a song? It's not like it fucking drives me insane. I'm just like, oh God. Oh, here we go with the RESPs. It's such a cliched, obvious, stupid needle drop that it literally, I'm getting fucking mad just thinking about it. Because it's just, you sucked the power out of her moment by dropping a song that was fine up until you used it in these moments all the time. Stuff like that really irritates the shit out of me. So needle drops, obvious ones. I remember, just to take it back to another Hugh Grant movie, maybe it's his fault. Do you remember 2 Weeks Notice with him and Sandra Bullock?
Yes.
So in a romantic comedy, you don't typically have a scene where a woman eats to the point where she has to desperately shit. And what plays when she's looking for a toilet? Taking care of business. I'm like, are we fucking 8? Like, who's watching this movie? I took my date to a romantic, funny movie, and you've basically got a song about labor, and you're playing it during a scene where Sandra Bullock is holding her butt to keep from exploding. I'm like, what just happened? What the fuck? And it drove me insane. It really did. I'm like, why would you play that song? First of all, why would you have this scene? But then you double down and make it dumber with a song like that. I hate it. That could be one of my biggest pet peeves is bad needle drops.
I can see that.
Because the thing is, with movies, good or bad, a movie can use a song and it will imprint that movie in your brain with that song forever.
Yeah.
Stuck in the Middle, Reservoir Dogs, immediately. Any Tarantino movie, frankly. He has a gift for putting the right songs in the right films. But he's also made it to where now you'll only think of that movie when that song plays. John Landis' American Werewolf. Every song has wolf or moon in the titles. Is it obvious? Yeah. But it's not used in a cliche way. They just kind of sneak in. Is the opening to that one Blue Moon? Just a version of it? It's one of those deals where it's not so obvious, until you've watched it a couple times and you're like, I see a pattern here. It's not thrown in your face. There's certain movies, I remember Gordon Lightfoot's If You Could Read My Mind, beautiful 70s song. They played it at the end of Wonderland, like a minute after the massacre.
Okay.
And it kind of tainted the song for me.
Yeah.
Because it was like, I'm shook by the true crime that just happened in this film, obviously acted out. But then you end the movie with that rather poignant song, and I'm like, you've kind of given the song a weird vibe now. Because I'm associating it with a rather heinous, brutal scene in a movie now. And I know sometimes that's the hip thing to do. I'm going to take an innocuous song and put a dark spin on it.
Yeah.
But I don't think that was the intention of that one, but it's like, just the same. If I hear that song by Gordon Lightfoot, I think of that horrible night on Wonderland Avenue.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
you think that's what they were doing, though? You think they were trying to achieve that, or you think they just like...
I don't know. Because sometimes you and I talked about like Stand By Me a few episodes back. And obviously the story was called The Body. Stand By Me, it was titled that based on the song. That was a Reiner choice. Right. Because that movie is so emotionally taxing and so heartbreaking, I will always associate that song with that movie rather than the other way around. You see what I mean?
I do.
There's needle drops that work and there's needle drops that can have an effect. But the peeve of mine is the one where you're like, what's a good song for taking a shit?
Taking care of business.
Taking care of business. Yeah, you know what? I even didn't like when Toy Story 2 came out and they changed Thin Lizzy's song to The Toys Are Back in Town.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that.
Now I can't hear The Boys Are Back in Town and not think of fucking Pixar.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. That's okay. Then I got one too. Then because
sure,
that's one for me. Cause
I hated that
because I am a ridiculously big Thin Lizzy fan.
Yeah,
and I do like Toy Story.
Me too.
I do, but it
right.
made it. It's just
it was kind of an irritating marketing.
It was
gimmick, and I know it was in jest because you've changed the lyric. Every time I hear The Boys Are Back in Town, I'm like, Toy Story 2. And it just kind of makes it stupid now. Yeah. You know what I mean? So what's yours then, if that reminded you of one?
No, that isn't like, no, I'm saying no, that's one for me then. I'm taking that one as my own because I am such a fan of both of those. And there's no reason those two worlds should have never came together.
No,
they should have never come together.
It didn't match and it was just kind of strange.
It was cheap.
It was
cheap.
It was cheap. And it sounds like a trivial thing, but that's why we call them pet peeves. But I can't disassociate the two anymore. Mm-hmm. And that sucks. So movies do have a bad habit of they're taking the needle drop because it's a powerful tool.
It is. When
used correctly, it's amazing.
One for me, and it's not a pet peeve, it's more of like, and you don't hear the song because I believe they made the song for the movie. I'm almost certain. We'd have to go back in and look it up and see. I think we'd have to go back and look and see, but I don't even know who did it. Maybe Goblin did it, but it's 'Cause I'm a Man for Dawn of the Dead. Mm-hmm. Like even though there's no radio play for that song, the montage scene.
Is that when they're just gathering shit?
They're all the guys are hanging out and they're barbecuing and drinking and like military's coming into town and they're playing that song 'Cause I'm a Man.
Yeah.
It just fits so fucking perfectly. Even though I'm almost certain they made the song for the movie.
Probably.
I'm almost certain. And I think Goblin did that song.
Yeah, if not most of the soundtrack.
That one for sure. Yeah,
because there's definitely a lot of DeWolf library cues in that film.
Yeah,
tons of them actually.
But that's a song. Like I said, even though it's like you don't turn on the radio and hear it 'Cause I'm a Man.
Yeah,
but when you do hear it, it's just like, oh, it takes me back. I know exactly what that is. You know, because like I have it in a playlist and it'll pop up in a playlist.
Sure,
Goblin did it.
That's. I feel the same way about The Road That Leads to Nowhere by Hess, Last House on the Left.
Yeah.
That was made for the film, I believe. Because I know Hess was a musician. I don't think he had it on deck and gave it to Wes. I think it was I don't know, maybe. Okay. That's one that's imprinted.
Right.
Because it's just a very poignant, hopeless song. It's before things get really bad in that movie. You know,
speaking of music in movies, this is something that I don't know, thinking about as we're talking about this stuff. You know, movies from like the 30s and 40s and 50s, they didn't really have songs. They were just music cues. Yeah, it was score stuff.
Symphonic.
Yeah. And I almost like that better, I think.
Yeah.
I really do. Like, you know, I mean, yeah, sometimes it'll, because, like, you know, with Tarantino, it's cool. You know, music is like a character,
It is.
you know, in all of his movies, which is, okay, you know, it's cool.
And he uses it right.
He does. Yeah.
He finds a way to make it fit the vibe.
But it's like you take, like, Bernard Herrmann in Psycho. Mm-hmm. There's no words, but that's just as big of a character
Oh, yeah.
as the characters themselves.
Or the
That's
lack
a very
of,
strong score.
or the lack of score in The Birds,
Exactly.
where he pulls all music out of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we could do an entire show, we probably will, about scores,
Yeah.
soundtracks,
Scores. Yes.
specifically
Specific scores.
composed
Yeah.
for the film.
Yeah.
But yeah, soundtracks. And what's funny as far as soundtracks with like songs, you know, horror tends to be on the metal side because metal and horror are both in your face genres.
Right.
So the marriage makes sense.
Right.
So yeah, when you hear Swingin' the Dead by Devil Driver, you're like, oh yeah, Freddy vs. Jason.
Yeah.
You know, something like that. I do like that. But it's the ones that are just when they take something lyrically and try to match it to the action in the film, I'm like, that's stupid. Don't do that. You know, I'd rather just hear score or nothing at all.
I love films with the score is a big part of the film, like, you know, a character where you can hear a score and it'll take you back to a specific scene.
Sure.
Because, like, I do love a lot of older movies. Like, one of my favorite older movies is Rebel Without a Cause.
Of course.
The score in that is just so big.
Yeah.
You know, and it's so impactful to what this kid was going through, you know, and it's like, I can hear songs from that and know exactly what movie that's from,
Sure.
you know, and it's like, I don't even need words. I have the same effect. And I think that was Leonard Rosenman who did the score for
Rebel?
For Rebel. And so it's like the same thing like Tarantino's doing with those songs. I feel like these guys are doing the same thing with just a score.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's...
Well, with Tarantino as well, depending on your era, he doesn't put a lot of immediately recognizable music into his films. He does put a lot of the surfer rock.
Lots of B-side stuff.
Lots of B-side stuff.
Yeah.
So it's not like, oh, I hear this song every day. Of course he picked it for his movie. No, it's not like that. It's not hearing Hero by Nickelback every fucking day of the week.
I said I'd stop.
When Spider-Man came out.
That's right.
It's just, you know, certain needle drops just feel so tacky. It's just, yeah.
Well, it's like, take Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. The soundtrack throughout the movie with the DJ.
Yeah.
Talking throughout the entire movie and playing. It was genius, in my opinion.
Yeah.
If it wasn't in there, I think it would be an entirely different movie.
Sure.
Because the music is great. All those old radio spots and commercials that they played were great. You know, it was just as big as a character as Brad Pitt and DiCaprio.
Sure.
I think a score episode would be good.
I think so, too.
But getting back to pet peeves, I don't have many, like I said, pet peeves for cinema. But I do have a couple of pet peeves for going to the theater.
Okay.
And I do have that. One is I fucking hate watching commercials at the theater.
Oh, me too.
And not previews, but
no
car commercials or fucking insurance
Mountain
commercials.
Dew.
We're watching the same shit that's at home.
It's yeah.
Why are we doing that?
I would rather you just put up the trivia cards.
And I'll just wait.
Yeah.
I'll wait.
Yeah.
When I'm in the theater, I'm not on my phone.
No.
So even if like we're watching a trivia or whatever it may be, if it's just flashing cards, you know, I'd rather watch that instead of being on my phone.
Right.
But I feel like as soon as that shit comes on, it's like I'd rather be on my phone.
That's funny because at least at the theaters in Michigan, by the time those commercials really kick in, the lights have gone down and the THX has come up. And that's when I feel like I got to put my phone away. Now it's dark in here, so I'm turning my light off.
Yeah. So segueing from that to this next one is these motherfuckers that turn their phones on during the middle of a movie.
Yeah. No, I don't like it.
Brightness all the way up. Like,
yes.
It drives me fucking crazy.
I hate, to be honest, I turn the light down when I'm laying in bed because it's like, it'll melt your face.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when you're in a theater with other people just trying to look at the screen and it's like a paparazzi amount of phones out. It's like, come the fuck on, people.
Yeah.
I don't even like it at concerts. I've been to so many metal concerts lately where the crowd is holding their phones up recording the show. And I'm like, don't you just watch the show? I don't want to watch this through my rectangle,
Later.
Yeah, I'm like, just enjoy the show.
You're here now.
I could understand if you wanted to whip your phone out and take a picture of the band, the stage, or whatever, but then pocket that shit and watch the show. So yeah, the phone thing, 100%.
I can't deal with that. I can't deal with the phone thing.
And sadly, I remember, what was it, probably, maybe it was almost 10 years or so ago now, the guy who, sadly, his daughter called him while he was out with his wife or girlfriend, and he busted out his phone for a second just to respond, and some idiot was so annoyed by it, he got up and shot the guy. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
So even that, I'm like, you're there to watch a movie. I understand being annoyed. Mm-hmm. Is it enough to kill
But here's
somebody?
the thing. In my defense, I told him turn the fucking phone off. He didn't.
How many
I told the
times?
judge. It was twice. I told the judge. The judge said, "Oh wait, this was at a theater." I said, "Yeah." He said, "Turn his fucking phone on." He's like, "Oh, okay, get out of here."
I would have asked what you were watching.
Little Mermaid.
Yeah.
So yeah, you see why.
Yeah.
You see why. No, that's something that's fucked up. No, I do remember that.
Yeah,
I
that
do
was
remember
just an unfortunate case, and it was, again, phone in the theater. Granted, the guy could have, oh, my daughter's calling. Just get up and scoot to the lobby real quick.
Well, see, I have a thing with like my immediate family. They all know I'm going.
Yeah.
Okay, or they're with me.
Mm-hmm.
And I do have the brightness all the way down.
Yes.
So if someone does happen to call, it's obviously an emergency.
Yeah, and that's why I gave this guy the benefit.
And
of the
that's
doubt.
yeah, and it's like, you know what,
know.
emergency fucking movie or not, like I'm gonna.
I gotta.
But I see people on their
Texting.
Instagram.
Oh God, yeah.
Or they're on TikTok in the while the movie's playing,
Stupid.
and it just drives me fucking crazy.
So you paid $10 to come in here and fuck around on your phone?
Yeah, and you know what's really funny? Here's another one, and this is at a theater. So I don't know your seating position, but I'm a high. I love setting up high.
Me too.
Okay.
Yep. I'm very much a top center.
Yeah. Okay. So I do like that, or I actually do like the sides as well.
I like the sides because I don't have to walk past anyone if I have to piss.
Okay. Okay.
I'm already at the stairs. I'm not going to bother anybody.
Right. So yeah, I do like setting up. You fucking totally fucking.
Hey, I'm in my 40s now. The bladder ain't what it used to be. And that big gulp was so good.
It's so funny because it took me. I thought you were gonna say something completely different. You really did, and like you made the thought go right out of my head. I'm gonna have to think about this.
Sorry.
No, it was hilarious. That was hilarious. But yeah, I don't know, man. I do like going to the theater because I like the communal experience.
Me too.
And I understand certain times people, they got to take their kids, and I get it.
Yeah.
Kids talk. I'm a parent. I know kids talk, kids cry, kids, whatever. And I don't scorn them for that. I don't. It's the people that are on the fucking phones and shit that like drive me.
Yeah, me too.
Absolutely fucking crazy.
One thing that used to be a pet peeve in theaters that has largely disappeared was the distance between seats.
Okay.
You got your seat kickers.
Here's
most theaters now have a wider
that was it.
aisle.
That's what I was gonna say.
Okay.
So you're absolutely right. Mm-hmm. Yes, seat kickers. I can't.
Drove
me
me nuts.
So this is what I would do back in the day, when the rows were really close and they didn't have all that leg room.
Yeah.
I would set up like you in the center.
Mm-hmm.
And the theater is basically fucking empty.
Sure.
And then in walks the fucking tallest motherfucker.
I already know where you're going with this.
The biggest fucking amount of snacks and
Yeah.
fuck everything. And where's he going to sit? Right in front of me.
Yep.
Okay. So I'm like,
It's like
fucker.
This is more of a guy problem, but it's like the guy, you're in the bathroom at the urinal, and there's like 6 of them, and he comes right up next to you, like, "What's up, man?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Could you give me the buffer urinal,
Yeah,
please?"
yeah.
It's like,
So-
why are you shoulder to shoulder with me?
So what I would do to fix this problem, Because I always try to get there early, and I want to be in the theater before anyone.
Me too.
Even though now you pick your seats, so your seats are safe.
It is, but I
want to be there.
let me get settled.
I want the lights to drop
Yes.
on me. Okay.
Yes.
So what I would do is I would get there, and I always order the biggest fucking barrel of soda with like there's straps to carry this fucker on your back. This thing is so fucking big.
Because after the movie, you're gonna go on that hike in the Alps.
Yeah. So what I would do is I would get there and I would open that fucker and I would pour it in the 4 seats in front of me.
Yeah, you couldn't get away with that today because they purchased it first.
Yeah. Well,
They'll just make someone come in and clean it.
yeah, because they used to be like the cloth seats.
Yes.
Now it's the leather seat, but the cloth seats would suck it up,
Yeah.
and people would come in and sit right there, and I would be like, "Oh no, you don't want to sit there. The seats are wet."
Yeah.
And she would touch. Oh my God, thank you so much. That's so sweet.
Hey, I'm just looking out for
no
your
worries,
sweet,
man. I was
sweet
like,
ass.
yeah, I was like, we did it. Like we sat there and they were wet. Now I got to deal with this shit.
I know.
So, and she's like, oh, thank you so much. And even I didn't have to do it because then they're off to the side and someone else comes. Don't sit there. The seats are wet.
Yeah,
And
now,
I'm just
now you've planted the seed and it's
Yeah.
it's already
yeah,
sowing
so-
the oats.
And I used to do it behind me if there was. I would do it behind me and then I would do it in front of me.
That's genius.
And they're literally like a packed house.
Yeah.
I shit you not. There would be like 4 empty seats in front of me and behind
You're
me.
an island in this theater, just
Yeah.
munching your
It was just
popcorn.
nice. Yeah, it's fucking
That's
awesome.
funny.
Yeah.
Have
Yeah.
you ever had the instance where you said you did that and some cowboy was just like, I don't give a fuck?
There was a woman
Yeah?
and her daughter.
Mm-hmm.
She wouldn't listen to me. I'm like, oh, the seat is wet, and she sat in it,
Just completely.
and she fucking owned it because she just didn't. I don't want to hear you.
Wow.
So, but you know what? I still looked at it as a win because I did that.
Yeah.
I'm like, you want to be an asshole.
Now you're squishing around in that chair. That's me.
There was one time that I'm almost certain I got caught, but the usher was like 16, 17 years old and was like, probably thought it was fucking funny.
Yeah.
But I was literally mid-pour as he walked in with the flashlight and the clipboard.
Management frowns on that, sir.
Exactly. But now with with the
The wide aisle. leather
like
seats.
when we go see Indy,
Yeah.
this theater, I mean it's fucking awesome.
I love that. I love that. And it's a claustrophobia thing too, where you're like, if I'm in the middle, I hate just brushing my ass across everybody's food.
Yeah.
Because there's just no room. And you're trying not to fall over the people in front of you. So it's this balancing act to just kind of sideways crab walk out of the aisle. It was, granted, it was something we all had to do for years and years and years, but the fact that I don't have to do that anymore, I love. You just get up and stroll out,
Yeah.
It's funny you mentioned the leather seats because I do have another one.
Okay.
Out here, do your seats recline?
Yes.
When I go to the movies and I get there early, I've got my snacks, and I'm like, all right, I'm putting my feet up, and it's like the leather's going. The entire time your feet are going up. And I've gotten to the point where it's so funny if I go to the movies with my brother, I'll do that while making heavy eye contact. Just it's just that the leather
dragging skin.
across. And I'm like, I fucking hate that. But it's like I do it early because there's nothing worse than the movie starting and it's dead quiet and you hear just somebody going up.
Yeah.
Or if in the middle of the movie I got to take a piss, I'm like, well, it's going back down. It's like a loud ass garage door. I'm like, that I don't like.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's such an obnoxious thing.
Yeah.
But that's one of the only caveats to the awesome new setup they have. It's that loud ass leather. And you hear it, it's a cacophony. People just and it makes me laugh, but at the same time I'm like, this is so stupid. It's just like it's like the loudest fart, longest, and it just I can't stand that shit. But if I go with like my brother or something, I'll just stare
Turn
at
it into a bit.
I do. I'll just stare at him the whole time I'm going up. And there was one time we went and see, we went and seen The Purge, The Purge Anarchy.
Okay.
And I think the theater we went to had just converted to the recliners.
Okay.
The motorized recliners. But what was funny was it wasn't the slow up and down that I just described. It was kind of like you press the button. If you held it, it just went real fast. And then when you put it down, it almost kind of shot you forward.
Yeah.
Because it went down with the vengeance. There wasn't many people there. And we kind of started this thing where when something fucked up would happen in The Purge, I'd shoot forward and look at my brother like, did you see that? And he'd be like, zoom. He'd go up, yes, I did. And then we would just go way back into recline again. And then someone would get killed and I'd be like, did you see what just fucking happened? And I mean, you can only get away with it when there's nobody in there.
Yeah.
But it was just, that was one of the funnier instances where I was like, I'm going to turn this chair into a bit.
Yeah.
You know, this is going to be, we're going to make fun of this.
Well, speaking of that, of doing a bit,
Sure.
Having fun in the theater. Do you like it when it's a packed house? Like, cause we went and, we saw Halloween when the first one, was it 2017? I think it was.
Oh, the David Gordon Green?
Yeah. So we all went and super excited, and it was a packed house. The audience was into it.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's not, it wasn't obnoxious, but they were like laughing and cheering and, and people were like kind of making jokes or saying things and everyone was kind of into it.
Yeah.
It was like a real communal experience.
Yeah.
It was fun. It was an experience. It made the movie that much better.
Yes.
Versus those people that will just sit there and talk and be disrespectful and talk shit.
Yeah. No, I do hate that.
Yeah. And it takes everything in me to not say something.
And I'm sorry, most of the time, it's like high school kids. They come in this big group and they're just laughing it up and being obnoxious. And again, the phones are out. And it's like when I see a big group of high school kids coming in, I'm just like, these fuckers, get off my lawn.
Mm-hmm.
It's because I know that when they're not obnoxious, I'm like, good on you. Your folks raised you right.
Yeah.
Yeah. If it's a fun crowd, I enjoy it.
Yeah.
It's awkward if you go to a comedy and no one's laughing.
That bugs the shit out of me.
I'm like, damn, because honestly, there's nothing more awkward than seeing jokes bomb, and I've been to a few comedies where I was just like, this is not good. This is grim. One of my favorite, there's a couple that I really enjoyed. I mentioned on another episode about Freddy vs. Jason and kind of the rambunctious crowd I had there.
Yeah.
It fit because it felt like you were at a UFC fight. Everyone was cheering and that was fun.
That's how the Halloween was for us.
Right. That's fun.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. In fact, now that you mention it, when I saw Halloween at the theater, the part that got everyone going was that one shotter where he's just walking through Haddonfield in and out of houses, just fucking people up.
Yeah.
The audience was just like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Everyone,
him banging the chick's head against,
Yes.
So that stuck out. I remember going to, I want to say one of the Conjuring movies. It was a fairly packed house. And there was this lady, she sat next to me with her friend. A lot of people I've noticed will bring a blanket with them because it's, it was so funny because this lady, she kept pulling the blanket over her head because it was getting scary.
That's awesome.
And I would see it out of the corner of my eye and I'm trying not to laugh.
Yeah.
But then at one point she pulled the blanket down and looked at me and she was just like, I'm sorry, I'm scared. I was just like, hey, no, I get
awesome.
it. I was like, I get it, babe.
That's awesome.
You do you. I was like, I ain't judging you, man. But one of the biggest ones for me, and I know you're the Marvel guy. Joking aside, when I went and seen Infinity War, okay, Avengers Infinity War was like the culmination of almost 30 movies meeting, like all of these movies were meeting now to fight Thanos.
Okay.
And I think it's far enough along now that I can spoil it, I would say. He gets all the Infinity Stones and he snaps and dusts 50% of the universe. Because that was what he was going to do.
Okay.
And first of all, Thanos was, Josh Brolin played him, and he had such a presence that it reminded me of like Darth Vader. Like when he appeared on screen, I was like, shit. Like I felt intimidated. In the comics, I know he's a big bad, but in this movie, there was weight to it because it was like you had heard through various sites that big characters were going to die. In this
really?
movie. Big characters. And, people like me, you theorize because you're like, so-and-so's contract ended this year. So I'm like, I'm dreading seeing people that I think are going to die. Well, you get to the end. It's a 3-hour movie. It's an epic.
Wow.
It is. But the last 10 minutes is one of the most chilling things I've seen in years. He snaps, and then there's no score. You just hear wind. And then all of a sudden you see one character go, Steve, like he's walking. It's Bucky with the Winter Soldier.
Okay.
Steve. And then you see him, they turn into dust. And then you see another character. And there's no score, just wind. And it's so haunting. And I remember being in the theater and hearing audible gasps, people in the audience. And then after a few minutes, I was hearing people sob. Quietly. You know what I mean? Just kind of one of those deals. And it was so overwhelming. And it's basically this generation's Empire Strikes Back. It ends on a fucking sour note. And then you're just like, here's the credits, go home. It's a very somber ending. And the fact that I saw it in such a packed house and could hear people reacting to it. There was a guy sitting next to me. He might have been in his 60s. And he goes, I forget who it was that dissolved. It was a big character. He was clearly a fan. And he went, not him. And this is a grown man. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, granted, if you've not watched any of these, it's an undertaking to get caught up to get to that moment. But if you've been here for the entire ride, it's like you're seeing your friends disappear. And this guy was clearly invested to that degree. I mean, I'm watching it like, damn, this got serious. But to hear the reactions in the audience was something I will never forget.
Wow.
Never. And that's why it left such an indelible imprint on me, because if I just watched it at home or by myself, it would have been like, it's same with like Empire, where you're like, damn, they're really going to end it there?
Yeah.
That sucks. Because it literally felt like I was at a wake.
Wow.
It was that heavy. It was like, and again, because there was no score, it's so quiet and so eerie that you just hear this wind, and then you'll see and then Tom Holland, the Peter Parker, he's the only real kid of the movie. Everyone else, Robert Downey, Chris Evans, they're all adults. Then you see this kid. It's so heartbreaking. He staggers over to Stark, and he goes, Mr. Stark, I don't feel so good. And he goes, I got you, kid. I got you. And he holds him. And then all of a sudden you see him start to wisp, and he turns into a child. He starts to cry and goes, Stark, I don't want to go. I don't want to go. I don't want to go. And then all of a sudden, and Stark's just dust in his arms. And it was like the tension in the theater was so palpable, you couldn't recreate it. I've never experienced something so strangely somber in my life. And this was a comic book movie. Everyone came here for the action and the spectacle of it all. And you could have heard a pin drop when the credits started to roll. And it was an experience. To that end, a different experience, which to me was satisfying as opposed to like traumatic. In 2000, I don't know if you remember, in 2000, they brought The Exorcist back for 3 theaters.
Yes.
Okay. It was like LA, New York, and for some fucked up reason, Ann Arbor, Michigan. I don't know why, because we're not, but we got it. It was just the 3 theaters, one night. I was in high school. I was my senior year, and it was the version you've never seen, with the spider walk and all that shit. All these guys that hung out with me, they knew I was the horror guy, and they're like, we're all going to go see The Exorcist tonight. Have you seen it? And I'm like, oh yeah, I've seen it several times. I'm not seen this version, but I was like, yeah, I've seen it. And they're like, you want to go with us, man? You want to go? And I'm like, have any of you seen it? And they're like, no. And I'm like, okay. And what was weird was I didn't warn them, because in the back of my head, I'm like, I grew up on old shit. They didn't. They're going to laugh at this, and it's going to be awkward. I'm like, this isn't. And what was funny was when we got there, there's the scene where Reagan pisses on the floor. I heard giggles and snickers, and it was like, and my heart sank. I'm like, they're already laughing at it. This isn't supposed to be funny, but I'm like, this is a harbinger of what's coming. I'm like, this is going to be ridiculous. I think it's later that night, that scene where you see her getting flopped across the bed and the bed shaking. From that moment on, nobody said a fucking word. I just remember as the movie increasingly got worse, you get your crucifix scene and this scene and that scene and the vomit and all. Nobody. It's almost like the theater held its breath. And I just remember to this day thinking, it still got it. And it scared me. I'd only ever seen The Exorcist on VHS. So this was my first time seeing it at the theater. It was like an entirely new movie because you're surrounded by it now and you hear all the noises and the breathing. And it scared the shit out of me. But what surprised me, again, that communal experience in a room with probably 70% fresh-eyed people who had never seen it, to see it have that effect was amazing. It was so cool to just see a movie 30, 40 years old just shut an audience up.
Yeah.
It was like
It's
nice.
funny. I went too.
With that weekend?
Yeah, I went too.
Because it was just like a limited engagement, right?
Yeah.
Because I know later on that year, I think it went nationwide and was out for like a regular run.
Yeah.
But that weekend, it was like 3 cities, and I was like, I better go. It seems like a once-in-a-lifetime thing. It felt like. It was funny to see that movie have that effect on a modern audience, because we're so jaded that, you know, a lot of the kids these days, they just laugh at shit. And I'm like, this movie's the Titan of horror films. And I'm like, I don't want to see it get crucified by this stupid generation. You know, it didn't. That was cool.
It's a nice little win.
It was. And it was I just remember sitting there kind of looking around and just thinking, it's still got legs. This thing really, and the spider scene really fucked me up.
Yeah.
Because what was funny, I don't know if you remember, footage of that was out before. And do you remember the footage where it looks like she's kind of gliding? And then she flips over and she crawls after somebody? That's what I expected to see. I didn't expect her to come stomping down full force and like spraying blood. I jumped a mile. It was horrifying. So even I, as someone who had seen it in this little group that I went with, it still jarred me pretty good. Again, it's a tribute to the communal experience that you get to feel the electricity in the room when something truly scary happens.
Okay, well, I have a fun question then.
Sure.
What is a movie you would like to see in the theater
That I haven't?
that you haven't?
Oh God. You're gonna roll your eyes.
Okay.
I've never seen Creepshow at the theater. No one's brought it back. And even the little flashback weekends that we talked about before.
Right.
They usually just do blockbusters. So yes, I've been able to see all the Star Wars. Yes, I've been able to see all the Indiana Jones. I've seen Jaws, Alien. But Creepshow's not a blockbuster movie. And it would have to be a place like out here. Like you mentioned a couple episodes back about, wasn't there a theater that strictly plays 35 millimeter prints? Was it the New Beverly, you said?
It is, yeah.
I feel like that's the only way I'd get to see something as niche as Creepshow. And it's the only one of my favorite movies that I've never had the theater experience.
Creepshow, wow.
But I've seen all the other, Exorcist, Halloween, Friday the 13th, all of them. The big ones, I've been able to retroactively see them all because of a flashback weekend. Okay. I've even seen a big handful of Hitchcock movies. I've seen The Birds at the theater. I've seen Psycho, Rear Window, beautiful at the theater. But yeah, my personal favorite, I've never been able to see it, and I think it would be neat.
I saw Creepshow at the New Beverly in, God damn it, 2015?
It would have been like its 35th something or other.
On Halloween.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, in 35.
I envy you.
They screened it, I want to say it was the 30th and the 31st. They screened it there. And yeah, I went and saw it there. That was pretty fucking cool.
Yeah. I've seen, whether it was you or other people we know in the business who live out here.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll scroll through Instagram and I'm like, oh man, you got to see, like, I think it was Tiffany Shepis and her kids.
Okay.
This is a while back now, but she posted on Instagram or whatever, we all just went and seen Fright Night. And I'm like, oh, Fright Night?
Yeah.
I'm like, they never play Fright Night out here. And I was 3 when it came out.
Yeah.
So Fright Night's always been a home video movie for me.
Well, I will present this then. If it's in the cards and everything works out, and you do end up becoming a California resident
Full time.
full time, you and I will definitely be theater buddies, because there's like, man, I'll have to show you just the amount of theaters that are in LA that just show everything.
Sure.
And it's not just Friday, Saturday. I mean, it's 7 days a week.
That's amazing.
They're showing stuff, you know. And what's cool about it out here is it's at a theater that's so well known, and it is Hollywood. More than likely, one or more of the stars that are in the film,
They show up.
so they're there. And
They're
it's
like
not
Q&As or anything?
it's not
or-
even really a Q&A thing. It's hang out in the lobby and bullshit afterwards or before.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah. I remember, what was it? It was we went and saw Return of the Living Dead,
Oh, wow.
and Clue was there
Really?
hanging out with his son.
That would have been neat.
Just went, you
Yeah.
know, and was just like,
It wasn't part of the bill.
no, just bullshitting.
Yeah.
You know, just hanging out with everyone and just bullshitting, you know, and it is a really different experience, you know, because I mean, I've been in different states and gone to the movies, and it's just a theater, just going to see a movie and then you
Yeah.
leave. But here, it's just such a lifestyle.
That they celebrate older.
Yes,
You know.
it's cinema.
Yeah.
Cinema is just celebrated. It's just
Right.
It's so ingrained, you know, to the residents, filmmakers and non-filmmakers. It's
Yeah.
just there's people that just love cinema so much, especially from living in Hollywood. You know that a group of people sitting at El Coyote either just watched a movie or are about to go watch a movie, because they're
Yeah.
just talking film, and it's just so fucking cool.
Yeah.
Just because how much I love movies. You know, and it's not even the filmmaker part. It's just, I fucking love movies.
It's the experience.
Yeah. And it's like, yes, I love horror films, and I don't want to just make horror films. I have a couple of different ideas that I would love to achieve one day, you know, like a Western, like, you know, I've written a
Sure.
Western, and comedies, and, you know, I even have a drama. There's an action in there. And, you know, obviously horror films are the wheelhouse.
Sure.
It's home, you know, it feels good. But I remember a really fucking funny story. After shooting all these short films and, like, you know, all these effects and blood and guts and bones and just destruction, and I remember my cameraman, like, after a particularly bloody scene, he's splashed with blood, I'm splashed with blood, and we weren't even, like, we were behind the camera.
Yeah.
We have a guy working effects, and there's literally pieces flying around, and with just the most sincere, honest intentions, he says, "Are we ever just gonna make a normal movie?"
Yeah. I promise. One day.
And I like tapped him on the shoulder, and I was just like, "Fuck no."
Yeah. Who wants to do that?
Why? But it would be fun, because we would be able to take advantage of a lot of things. Like,
That would be cool.
yeah, we would be able to take advantage of a lot of films that are out there. You would get a lot of new experiences under your belt.
Sure.
Like, you really would, and it'd be cool.
And to Michigan's credit, there are theaters out there. I remember a couple years ago they did a Back to the Future trilogy. They did Bill and Ted, Grease. But I have such peculiar tastes. I'm like, how come I'm not seeing like spaghetti westerns? Or how come maybe I want to watch Conan the Barbarian? Or
Yeah.
And it's like every year. And here's what's funny. This year in September, which who knows when this will air, but it could have already happened. This September, my theater is doing, it looks like a Carpenter-a-thon.
Okay.
And they're playing They Live and Christine.
Wow.
Both of which I would love to see at the theater and never really thought I would have.
Right.
Because those aren't tentpole massive. It's like, it's not Jaws or Shawshank Redemption or Top Gun, which you see pretty much every other week.
Right.
You know, those are the ones they lean on.
Right.
And that's fine. You know, I like that too, but I have such a niche proclivity. You know, I love seeing rare or not as celebrated films. You
Right.
know, I would love, like Fright Night, you know, when I saw Shepis and then went and seen that. Or I think they went to like a Night of the Demons.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'd love to see Night of the Demons at the theater, man.
Yeah.
How come we don't do that shit? And it's just, that's the kind of thing I would love to come out here for.
Yeah.
Just,
And you know what? And this is what's cool. So let me give you a quick rundown. So as of right now, as we're doing this, okay, right now, playing at the New Beverly right now, starting at midnight in 35, is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Nice.
But then a few of the movies that are coming
Yeah.
over the next month in July, we've got Jaws.
Cool.
We've got Easy Rider. Paired with Beavis and Butthead Do America.
Wow.
We have Critters 2 with Mick Garris in person.
Nice.
We have Scarface.
Oh.
We have The Hateful Eight. A Clockwork Orange. We have The Big Heat. We have Slapshot. The Fifth Element. We have an 80s action spectacular 4-film marathon.
Did they say what?
No. Nope. We have It's a Mad, 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 Mad World. Killer's Kiss with Stranger's Kiss. We have Hook.
Wow.
We have Slaughter, I Escaped from Devil's Island, and Crack House, triple feature.
Crack House?
Yeah. Yes. We have A Fistful of Dollars and a Few Dollars More.
There's my spaghettis.
Exactly. And this is all screening in 35. And this is like...
Just the summer lineup.
Yeah, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I mean, it's just... I don't go as much because the people that I used to go with, I just don't really see anymore.
Sure.
It's not that I don't want to go... I won't go alone. I would go to the theater alone because, you know, I've done it. But I don't want to get in my car and drive an hour and a half to LA and sit there and then get a ticket, go in, watch this movie, and then drive home an hour and a half alone.
Without anyone to talk to about it.
And of course, you will talk to other cinephiles.
Sure.
At the theater, and you will definitely run into people you know, for sure.
Yeah.
Because there's industries people there, you know, they all go and watch all this stuff. I just stopped going because I was like, I don't want to drive all the way down there alone.
It's kind of a bummer.
Yeah, you know, it's just, it's a big undertaking. But, you know, if you were to come out here, we would probably kick this shit into high gear.
Sure.
You know.
Just be theater buddies.
Yeah, and it's cool because... It's usually like, you know, you go to the New Bev, you know, you catch a double feature, then you're at Cantor's at like 3 o'clock in the morning, having breakfast, coffee, talking about what you just saw.
Yeah.
Then it's a nice cruise home. You know, it's fun. You know, it's a cool experience. So, yeah.
I like that, man.
Yeah.
I hope to do that.
Yeah, I think so. But, well, I mean, I think it's pretty much that time. It was fun.
We covered a lot of weird shit. We may have deviated from the peeves.
We did, but, you know, they're still in there.
That was kind of the first half of the episode, and then we sort of redeemed it with the positive.
Yeah.
You know? So I'm happy with this episode.
And it was still
pretty good.
It was always a celebration of film. It
Yes.
always is.
Yes.
So, all right, man. Well, until next time.
See you guys.